Good night, darling. So, I know this isn't PBS Eons, but I could just talk for a minute. So, on April 20th, 1969, Spencer Hawkins was born with social security number 8675309. Get it? Because April 20th is 420. Haha. So you already know so much about me. So it definitely is hard thinking of other things. But I thought it'd be funny. You think it's interesting to talk about what I've done growing up to try to flirt with people. And never really been much of a romantic beyond watching La La Land dozens of times. But been a dreamer, certainly. But actually acting on anything is completely different. But I remember back in elementary school, very distinctly, forming my first crush all the way back in like kindergarten. I don't know why I had a crush on her. Maybe it was because she had nice hair? Oh, wait. Now that I think about it, I remember. I think she liked SpongeBob. And you know, growing up as a kid, watching SpongeBob on Saturdays, he was the stuff. SpongeBob SquarePants. And this girl, she thought SpongeBob was cool too. So obviously she was the best. And so what did I do then when I found this out? I avoided her. Great romance strategy right there. Avoid the person you have a crush on. And let me tell you, nothing ever happened between us. Big shocker. Yeah. And then I remember, I think my next crush came shortly after that. And by shortly after, I think I mean like 2 years later. It's kind of crazy to think about. I don't know. Imagine going from being like a 20-year-old and then having no romantic interest for 2 years, and then boom, it just pops back. But yeah, I mean, little kid back then. And so when I knew I had a crush on this girl, we were in the same class. And, you know, being in the same class in elementary school, that kind of means something when you gotta spend like 6 hours of the day with them. Still avoided her at recess. Still never sat next to her in class. But I remember one day in PE, the PE teacher put us in the same group for some kind of circuit activity. We were in groups of like 3 or 4. And we had all these little stations with the little carts that you sit on and you roll across the floor. But then also there was a balance beam. And you're supposed to just stand on it and walk across it a few times. Don't exactly remember how that was supposed to be entertaining. But we did it. It's also, I feel like it was easier back then walking on a balance beam like that. Because when you're small, you have small feet. And so, it got less hanging off. But there she was, standing there. And as this little kid, I was like, wow, she's attractive. I want her to think I'm attractive. And so, in my mind, I was thinking, what do people find attractive? And the first thing my mind thought of was every time I'd seen a movie and there was like some scene where like a girl was like in a bikini or something and like trying to not trying, but like it's just depicted like that in films. That like, oh wow, she's the hot person. Because you see that I saw that a lot as a kid growing up. And so I was like, this is what is attractive. This is what she will find attractive too. And so I did the thing where you pull your t-shirt up and then you like tighten a little knot, and then it kind of looks like not a bikini. I don't know. I don't know fashion beyond shirts and shorts and pants. I think you know what I'm talking about, where kind of like a crop top, but just more just more, yeah. And so I stood there and I was like, wow, I'm really showing off my cleavage to her as this second grader with no chest. Well, I mean, I had a little bit of puppy fat left, but nothing, nothing muscular, and nothing particularly large. So I did that, and then I started walking across the balance beam, and I wasn't just walking; I was strutting as much as a little second grader could do in front of a class of like 30 kids who are all occasionally looking over. But I got her eyes on me, and she was staring at me. And so I strutted across this balance beam, one foot in front of the other, hips flying out to the sides. And then she got a smile on her face. And so I turned back once I made it to the edge of the balance beam. And I went back again, throwing my hips even harder, side and side, and swaying and stepping. And then she started laughing. And I was like, this is good, I think. But I guess I didn't really attract her then as much as I made her laugh. And that was all the moves I ever made on her. Never talked again. Went back to being quiet, sitting in the corner of the classroom. But it was good. It was good. I mean, second grade relationships, not exactly the ideal. Just trying to think beyond that, what else I've done to like actively flirt before. Oh, I remember once in middle school, I had a crush on this girl, and her locker was right next to mine. And by right next to it, I mean like right opposite to it. So you have like two aisles of lockers, and they're like both facing each other. It's really crowded. You guys are like cattle inside of middle school, and so they pack you in so tightly, and you all rush to the lockers at the same time. And it was right after lunch, and we were both in a crowd of people rushing to our locker to grab our next textbook before our next class. And there she was standing behind me, and I didn't even notice it at the time because I was just, who am I kidding? I noticed it. I feel like when you're that young and you're like, whoa, I have a crush, and you're like, you always got a radar going, keeping track of wherever your crush is. Like, beep, 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 beep. So that sense was going back in my head. I was like, okay, be cool. Open your locker on the first time. So spin the little dial, put in my combination, unlock the locker, and I was like, cool. Just grab my textbook, walk away, and I'm going to look cool. Mind you, I have no idea how to look cool. I don't even know what that means. I don't even know today. I mean, besides just having your hair look nice and wearing clothes that look nice, which I'll tell you for certain I was not doing back then. That's a whole nother subject, but I used to use hairspray like it was a supplement, and I was over supplementing myself. I used to use hairspray like it was butter on cornbread. Like the hairspray is butter and my hair is cornbread. I don't know. But I opened the locker and I grabbed my textbook. But to grab my textbook, it was on the bottom of the locker, and so I had to bend down. And so I bent down to pick up my textbook. And coincidentally, in this crowded hallway, someone else bent down too, right behind me. Our butts touched. and I hurriedly picked up my textbook and slammed my locker closed, distraught at how dirty I was as this little child whose butt just touched someone. And I turned around, and it was not just someone, it was my crush. And that was the most intimacy I had for many, many years of my life. It was so funny because I think she just like looked over her shoulder like, what just happened? And me, as soon as I saw her face meet mine, I'm sure I turned red as a radish and scurried away like a cat that had just been spooked. Yippity-doo-dah. Oh my goodness. I did so many weird things to try to flirt. Oh my gosh. This is a really vague memory, but I remember once, I think. I remember once at a practice for some sport I was in. We had like really old gym clothes that we were wearing, and one of the girls, she decided to like tear the bottom off her shirt to make it a crop top, and then she just like handed it to me. These details, I don't remember why. I just remember, oh, she handed me this. It means something. Did it in the moment? Probably not. I think she wanted me to throw it away. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, this would be a cool gift to give back to her after an oddly large amount of time. In my 6th grade brain. Did I? Thankfully not. But why did I not? Because near the end of the school year, when I was thinking, oh, maybe this is about time to give it back to her, one of my friends saw the piece of cloth and was like, what are you doing with that? And then I told them the story, and they're like, that's not a good idea. And I was like, thank you for teaching me this. I feel enlightened. But it's also just kind of funny that, like, I don't know, I could be this clueless about flirting and all these things, yet I have 5 sisters. Yet I could be this clueless, yet I have 5 sisters. I could be this clueless, yet I have 5 sisters and 4 brothers. And I've learned lots of things from them, but apparently nothing about flirting. And so life went on. Life went on as it does. And oh my golly. I guess in high school, that's when I really got out of my shell. You know, I did a whole lot to flirt then. I asked girls to dances. And I think the one time I was like most interested in a girl, the most romantic invite I could think of is I made a giant pancake. I didn't even think of this myself. I called one of my sisters. So I guess I did learn something from them. I called one of my sisters and I was like, what do you think would be a good promposal for her? And she had me talk about this girl, and we talked about how this girl liked pancakes and she made them a few times in class, which also is kind of like cool. I don't know, like just the idea of making pancakes in class. Like, we should bring that back. Public system, private schools, colleges, we need more pancakes in class. I think GPAs would rise universally. Wow, I'm craving pancakes now. But I just made a pancake, and you make a giant pancake. I don't know. Probably more than one way to, skin a cat. More than one way to flip a flapjack. But I made this pancake by getting a giant bowl of batter, Like, I used almost an entire one of those like Costco size bags of Crusties. Not really, that's hyperbole. But I used a lot. Like, I think at least like 10 cups of mix. No, 5. 5 cups of mix. Wow, maybe I should be a fisherman. Not really. I'd hate to sit still for that long. Oh my. But I used this Crusties, this pancake mix, and I poured one large size pancake on the griddle. And then I flipped it. And one side of the pancake was cooked, and one side was not. And so how do you make this cooked pancake bigger? By cooking more pancake around it. And so I poured more pancake batter on top of it, on the cooked side. And then once the bottom was already cooked, I flipped it again. And so now we had the first cooked pancake, and like the second pancake was cooking on the other side. And then I just repeated this process over and over. And before I knew it, I was like practically like, I needed to like practically use my hands under it because like the spatulas were like bending so much at the weight of this pancake. It was huge. Oh my, like almost didn't fit on the griddle anymore. And it was really thick. Like, I had never seen a pancake so thick. But then she came into the room early and was like, "Oh, Spencer, you're making pancakes?" And so then I needed a friend to distract her. And it was kind of a hot mess, but while the friend distracted her, I managed to spell prom and chocolate chips on the pancake. And handed it to her. And she said yes. So I think that was the peak, close to peak romance for me in high school. Yeah. I could go for a pancake. I'm actually feeling pretty hungry right now. I think I'm gonna go eat something. So, I guess I'm gonna have to say, good night, darling. Good night, my little desert flower.